What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Try Time Podcast. I'm Matt.
And I'm Callum.
And this is episode 90, where, as you can see, we're back on our own again.
Yeah, no guest this week, but
we
hopefully that's going to be...
after the lights of Hollywood and gone back to the good old-fashioned pair that you know and occasionally love.
Yeah, hopefully more guests to come, hopefully before the end of the year and into the start of next season.
We've got a couple of things in the works, haven't we, both in terms of wider opinions on this pod from the fan perspective and also those involved in rugby league. So hopefully we can get some scheduling success and get those pulled off. So watch this space. Another team that needs to watch their space in Super League, what a segue, 10-10 on that one, is of course the bottom rated Super League club in the IMG rankings, and that is the potentially at the time of recording in liquidation Salford Red Devils.
Yeah. We should again preface, we are recording this on Monday night, about an hour after it's been announced that they are going to receive the central funding. It happens every week. Something else will have come out about this, like a player will have been sold or more information will be out in the next, whatever it is, 48 hours in between recording and this going out. But just understand that, okay? So it's going to be more opinion-based stuff and our opinions on the whole debacle anyway. So.
And it's sounding like this funding is coming with some conditions in terms of players that need to be sold. So actually, if something does come out, that's probably not the worst thing in the world, because we're going to touch on this squad and who we think their eminently saleable assets are as Rugby League's greatest selling club strikes again.
Yeah.
I guess firstly, just so it doesn't sound like we're reveling in it too much, it is a shame for Salford and the fans that do go every week to watch them, because they do add, on the pitch at least, they add something to the league. They're a good, solid team. They've had some really impressive highs, and actually they've even in the lows, they've been a steady Super League outfit. And I think it's a shame that this is still going on, albeit, well, it's a mixture of factors both in and outside of their control, really, is what I'd say. It sounds like a lot of this is from the delays of the council stadium deal, which, as I'm sure every one of us that's ever had to deal with a council in any sort of capacity knows, the local authority loves to do everything slower than an Ethiopian slug. I don't know if Ethiopian slugs are particularly slow, but...
Ethiopian men and women, like runners, are quite fast, so maybe an Ethiopian slug would be quite a fast slug, actually.
Okay, where's slower than an obese American McDonald's supersized me slug?
Okay, that might be better.
But yeah, they are notoriously long-winded at getting anything done. I feel like this probably shouldn't be unexpected. And obviously this is now starting to hit Salford. I guess to an extent that is outside of their control. What we have also seen is another year propped up at the bottom of the attendance charts, and it's kind of similar to what we're saying about Huddersfield, who need to, of course, move into a smaller ground because it's actually embarrassing that they can't fill 0.1% of their current home. It's difficult to run a sustainable top-flight team when you've only got the equivalent of an Uber turning up in home support every week.
Is that an Uber XL or just a normal Uber?
Well, that depends if it's a derby or not. You never know. If you get to the semi-final, it might be the Uber helicopter.
Oh, right, I see.
But it's not sustainable week in, week out, and that's, I think, the big problem. And you look at this is a Salford area that's got no other real clubs around it to compete with. The problem it has got, however, it has got to compete with Manchester United in terms of general sports fans, which is quite a brand power to go up against, albeit they don't sack the manager every 2 minutes. So, and I'm sure Salford could beat Ipswich at rugby at least.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, because should that harm or hinder the team? For example, with Huddersfield, I would definitely say it hinders them. That, you know, a lot of how many, in terms of the capacity of fans that go to then go to the rugby is completely different. Whereas at Wigan, you'd potentially argue it's a good partnership that they've got going.
I'd say Hull's pretty equal.
Yeah, Hull as well. Wigan.
In fact, Hull probably more so on the rugby fact, given you've only got Tigers, whereas you've got FC and KR to accommodate on.
Oh, Hull is
the rugby side of things.
Hull is a rugby city through and through, isn't it? Really.
Ellen Road will outsell Headingley every single day that both teams have a game on, but it's still not a terrible attack. I won't say it hinders Leeds.
No, but that's comparable to the Manchester situation, because Manchester and Leeds are two of the biggest cities in the country. And there is obviously, Leeds proves that there is room for all these sports to coexist and succeed really and thrive. And I don't know, do they need to rebrand to Manchester? Maybe not Manchester Red Devils, because that is too close to United sort of thing going on. Maybe it has to be go back to the City Reds, Manchester City Reds. And yeah, don't get me wrong.
No, you can't have Manchester City in it when you sat right next to.
And then you're appealing to both the City and the United fans, because you've got the City in there and the Red.
You can't do that. You're going to have to find a new suffix to go on the end of
Manchester Rugby League. Then it doesn't have to be all fancy.
But I know what you mean about Leeds being the perfect comparison, because you've also got the immediately within, just outside of the boundary cricket ground next door, be it Old Trafford versus. Well, literally Headingley is just outside of the boundary line.
Yeah.
It's a tough one. Something's not going well in terms of Salford's PR. And ultimately, if this is a bit like Huddersfield, where it's like they can't do much more, they're practically paying children to go into the ground so their parents have to buy a ticket, which Huddersfield have pretty much tried that with like £1 kids season tickets over the years.
Yeah.
I think there comes a point where you just have to accept, unless you've got some very wealthy benefactor who's going to pump millions in, like the Ken Davies of the world.
Yeah.
You're probably not a Super League standard club, as much as on the pitch and the infrastructure and everything would suggest that you are.
No, and I think that's interesting, really, because if you take away their, especially recent on-field performance over the last, I'm saying like maybe 10 years, where they've done fairly well. They've never really been in too much trouble on the pitch anyway. Outside of that, what separates them from some of the Championship clubs? Certain clubs you can say, oh, they've got this massive fan base and this great purpose-built stadium. Like, for example, Lee, I think since Lee have been in Super League, now they've never looked back, because they do it on the pitch. The fans that they get is absolutely great, and the stadium's perfect for Super League. Everything is tick, 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 and the finances are in order. With Salford, the stadium's caused them more trouble than it's fucking solved, really, let's be honest.
I mean, and also, let's be honest, it's modern, it's nice. Does anyone actually like it more than the Willows? No, probably not. And I mean, I very much say the same thing. Does anyone really like Langtree Park any more than what they had before? No, but Saints attendance hasn't dropped off, and it's an own stadium. We're not having this farce every week where the council hasn't signed this agreement on time and someone's not sent this off and they've been evicted next week.
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, you can look for them. Look at Lee. Everyone says Lee's just a bus stop in Wigan or whatever. They still get fucking more than Salford, who's just the only Manchester City-based club. And you know what I mean?
I mean, it does beg the question of, I don't know what actually you do with them, because I suppose the almost better sound option would be like, bin that off because it's not working, the current stadium. Do you then rebrand the entire club and move into the blooming little ground on the Etihad campus, albeit then anyone who's remotely close to Old Trafford will be like, am I hell going on that blue side thing?
Yeah, that's
going to co-op lives enough of a torturous experience for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky for out, and I don't think anything like that would happen, but I think as within this this podcast, we're going to look to it, like looking at what happens potentially next year. And I do think, is it a club that needs to have a season or two in the Championship potentially?
Well, it probably needs to pay a Championship wage structure, but the problem is, can they survive in Super League doing that? A bit like what Cass did this year. And the answer is probably no. Last year was kind of the time to do that.
Yeah.
And they didn't. They pushed forward admirably, and obviously they had a fantastic season.
But for what, they still finished 12th in the IMG rankings.
But then I guess, actually, we say this, if they finished down in 10th, what would their IMG score have been? And would that have put them even more perilously close to the chasing pack of Hyena?
Yeah, maybe they knew that's what they had to do, but it's not sustainable, is it, going forward?
It's sustainable if you can then somehow bring 10, 11,000 fans through the gate every week.
Oh, yeah.
At that point, it starts to become sustainable because you're going to be more comfortable on that side. You're getting more gate receipts. You're taking more away. You're getting better. Even your cup games are going to have better gate receipts when it's split allocations. With 3,500, 4,000, that's a Championship level attendance right there.
Yeah, and it's not. The fact is, attendance is not. It's big. It's not everything though, but it's what comes with that attendance. So, for example, it's about things like social media interactions, which people meme all the time about how that's a thing. But it matters, how many are Salford getting on stuff like that? What is there? Does their outreach match what it should do in their location? And I don't think it does really. And I think
you say attendance isn't everything, but at the same time, it's not in terms of grading. But regardless of whether you have 1,000 fans or 21,000 fans, your fundamental running costs for opening that stadium is the same.
I agree with you. I get what you're saying.
Any extra person you get in is basically free money at this point for Salford, if we girl mathing it.
Yeah.
And you look how it was like the whole thing was against Lee, and they've broken their attendance record. It's like, that's fantastic.
Because Lee took over half.
But Lee props up half the ground.
But I guess the point I was trying to make, and I don't want to use this example, but I'm going to do. For example, Salford get 4,000 fans attendance, which is great.
Bradford get this many.
No, because I'm not. Because I guarantee, I don't have to look at numbers, Salford will get a better weekly average attendance than Bradford. Right.
Yeah, but what you've got to consider is that will be propped up by some large travelling contingents such as your Hulls, Leeds, Wigan, Lee, whereas Bradford and a lot of the Championship clubs in general, this is a massive flaw that has been pointed out, obviously, with the IMG gradings and attendance. Whitehaven are not going to bring the same amount of fans as Wigan. And if you're actually looking at the overall attendance and there's only about 300 difference, your lower attendance probably has more home fans present.
Yeah.
And if you had Wigan, etc., travelling to Bradford, maybe not Toulouse, that's probably the exception there, York, Featherstone, any of those clubs at the top end, you're eclipsing what Salford would get in that same retrospective fixture.
But this is my point, which is how many fans outside of that 4,000 that go to a game are Salford? Just how many fans does Salford have outside of that? It would just casual, don't go to games. Whereas you could go around Bradford area, right? And some people might say, well, I haven't been for 10 years, but yeah, I'm a Bulls fan. And that feeds into what.
Or they go to a couple of games a year, perhaps, but not regular. And it's the same in Leeds, isn't it? I mean, that's
But
you've got most of the city that'll support Rhinos in kind of a or an alternative Super League club or West Yorkshire club, of course. But most of your Leeds born and bred that are into rugby casually will call themselves a fan. They might even own the odd bit of merchandise.
Yeah,
but they don't have a season ticket and they don't go every week, but they still exist and they still probably follow it on social media.
Which is what I'm saying. The social, where Bradford ranks not so high, I'm going to say, but higher than any other
championship comparative, definitely.
and to the lower end of Super League with like your Salfords and your Huddersfields, really, it's social media. You go on any Bradford post, the numbers that gets is so much more than them. Not so much more, but it's more.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing how many posts we get from Huddersfield about Burgess this year, because let's face it, he's the only marketable asset they've got at this point.
But yeah, and that's not me just saying like Bradford, because I am not advocating that. Or
no, but I actually agree with you on this one.
Yeah, I'm being like it's a rational thing.
Because as much as what you were saying earlier, I think all the chasing clubs in the Championship, none of them have that whole package that Leigh did. They don't all have the stadium. The ones that don't necessarily have the on-pitch performance or the fan base to go with it. And if they do, they're not financially sound.
Yeah.
But the problem is Salford also don't tick those boxes now.
No, exactly.
And this is a big year because, I mean, let's put this into perspective. You've got a struggling Salford thrown into the mix with a perennially underachieving Huddersfield, combined with more than one rather ambitious Championship club that have aspirations of getting into the top flight. This next couple of seasons is going to be very intriguing, especially if we do have this reformed promotion and relegation thing that's still very much on the table, that no one's really gone into the logistics of how it would actually work yet fully.
I've got a question for you here, right? Let's say we're 2 years down the line, would Super League be more exciting and a more marketable product, and more like, would it be better if instead of Huddersfield and Salford, it was Bradford and York?
Well, that depends what they're doing on pitch. I'm not going to be drawn into some answer here because, okay, you gain the marketability of like Leeds Bradford. And like, you know, there's more natural local rivalry there from Bradford over Salford and Huddersfield. But this is where, if Salford are penny pinched and scraping 11th every season and Huddersfield are mad in the bottom three, and neither club has really shown any sign that they can be secure and progress, then yes, it becomes a more marketable product, because Bradford is a bigger brand to Rugby League than what Huddersfield and Salford are. That's just a fact.
Yeah.
And York have the ambition that seems to be lacking in some of these clubs down the lower end of Super League.
And the growing fan base as well. Like, they're doing a lot of good stuff behind the scenes.
Yeah.
They're doing it right. They're doing what Salford should be doing. You know what I mean? They're doing it.
Which I guess is your perfectly other big question then of what are Salford actually doing at community level, which, in fairness, that is a genuine question that I do not know the answer to. There might well be some great things in there, but if they are, they're not very well publicised.
No, and not very successful.
Let's evaluate that based on what its objective is. I don't want to cast that against them.
No, I guess not. But I think a big difference is, and people will compare it, like, if I'm going to say, and I'm not saying this, oh, well, Bradford should replace them, I would not say that, and I'm not. People say, oh, well,
a York example, but I'll let you go first.
People will say, oh, well, Bradford did the same, and everyone helped Bradford, and Bradford were mismanaged and all this. Yeah, and we went into a million administrations, right? But the massive difference, right? The difference is that our issues were, we had the fan base, everything like that were perfect. That wasn't at fault. The fault was we just had some owners who were absolute dickheads, basically. And obviously there's other stuff around that, but that was the core thing of it. As a club, and what we actually offered to Super League was still there.
And the other thing that's different here
at that point
is it wasn't like you got some exemption from going down, which I know no one's saying Salford will do here, but like when that hit and it wasn't sustainable, you know, like when Cam was told last week, the club basically going into liquidation.
Yeah.
They got the points deduction, which then put you in the Championship.
Yeah, only just.
Then get another points deduction that put you into League One. And now it's kind of having to build that back again from the bottom.
Which we are seemingly successfully doing.
Which, for Salford not to get any unfair treatment, they also have to be subject to the same mercy. Now, they haven't gone into an insolvency proceedings here, so shouldn't get a points deduction yet.
But that is just because they are.
But that almost feels like that's the next stage if this can't be got on top of quickly, be that by Salford City Council, the club, whoever is ultimately responsible for this, that's not just some blame game in the media.
No, something needs solving really, because I guess, yeah, it might sort them out for this season, but if they're having to sell players, the team's going to get worse. And then there's all these talks about promotion and relegation coming back and being a thing. And then you've got teams, you know, that realistically, the three teams who you look at the teams for next year on the pitch in the Championship are, whoever look to be at the top, are the three teams who are right behind Salford in the IMG.
Yeah, that's the worrying thing. They're the three that are growing.
One of them's going to win the league, so they're going to get them extra points. One of them's probably going to win the 1895. That's going to give them the points.
Yeah, let's be honest. This might not be a completely pointless thing, because Salford might end up 15th at this rate.
Yeah, so yeah.
Like, this might not even be close. But like, I think the key difference is when we're talking about initiatives, we don't really know what Salford are doing, and they probably can't afford to do this, but that's not the point here. And yet you've got York, who are going to do some very well publicised exhibition game against KR in Amsterdam. Well, that's already more interesting than what's going on at Salford. And if you're sat there as a sponsor and you're seeing, actually, I can pay more for Super League, I'm going to get me more TV time, about the same in fans, but a club that's potentially struggling, or the ambitious team that's trying to spread its brand identity around Europe and getting involved with bigger clubs like Hull KR, you have to question whether that Super League and Sky every week camera is really worth the extra money. And if Salford can't convince the sponsors that that club is worth backing over these ambitious chasing packs, this problem's only going to get worse.
That's what I mean. And then you could.
I hope there's a way out for Salford, just because I want to be clear here. I don't want them to go bust. But I don't think we should keep them on life support in a league that they are financially not at this stage stable to be in.
No, not when there's teams there laying in wait who are doing all the right things on the pitch and in IMG terms. And like I said, and I'm not even putting Bradford. I think we'd be obviously like we are on IMG, the stadium. I mean, if we had a better stadium, fucking Salford would be in Championship anyway.
Oh, if you two swap ground, Salford would be like middle Championship, and you'd be like probably knocking on Grade A.
Which is, but like even York, Toulouse are teams who are doing the right stuff off the pitch and the right stuff on it as well. So teams are knocking on the door. It's going to be an interesting season, because hopefully by the start of the season, we know about the promotion and relegation. That's going to be a nice, close one to watch. We should hopefully they do put promotion and relegation in, because it's going to make the Championship more interesting as well.
Yeah, agreed with that one. And I guess just to wrap up on Salford, I'm kind of going to do another 10 out of 10 segue here to do this. We see that they're struggling. This is when the squad's playing well. You know, they've had all grand final, Challenge Cup final appearances lately. Back in the playoffs this year, we all know that when things don't go so well, attendances often drop further. And, well, will things go as well given they're expected to sell players? And that brings us on to what players Salford have that are actually worth selling to raise a bobber to. Because they've signed some new players despite all this going on. We've seen Sangare and Hill, amongst others, commit their future already to the club.
And I did hear, this is maybe a bit of an insight, which might be public knowledge or not, and it could just be someone chatting absolute shit, but someone actually at the 7-4-5 game who I was sat with, who was a Leeds fan, was speaking to someone else there about that apparently Leeds had attempted to sign Chris Hill, but Salford offered more money than Leeds were willing to pay.
Oh, that got reported out in the media. I'd read that.
Yeah, which that in itself, what the fuck are Salford doing then if they don't have the money? Why are they signing Chris Hill on?
Well, the version I heard of it was Leeds had made an inquiry but not submitted a formal offer. And Salford had put a contract on the table. And clearly he just wanted to make sure he had a future signed. So the truth is probably somewhere in between both of those two.
Yeah, but still, Salford, Chris Hill, if he knows he's got interest, ain't going to just accept his first offer if it's not a good one.
No, so, I mean, we don't, you don't know what this Leeds inquiry came with, whether it meant some people had to go or whether actually the indicative terms were already worse. Like, we'll never know quite that, but it does sound like it's a worthwhile contract for him to snap it up.
Exactly. And anyway, even if it's not, you've still signed a player like this.
Thank you, Salford, by the way.
But this is it, mate. The selling one. Leeds renew their interest in Chris Hill, mate. Get him over to Headingley.
No, I'll tell you what, if Salford are signing, it's the first asset I'd bring back to Headingley. Callum's coming home.
Yeah. Reunite everyone, mate.
Watkins and Hall back at Headingley to tear.
This is on the podcast, so it's if Chris Hill ends up in a Leeds shirt this year, right, playing for Leeds, I will get a Leeds shirt with Chris Hill on the back. Now you've heard.
If you don't get me one, I'm happy with that. But yeah, Watkins second row. That solves the problem that we've got with both Bentley and McDonnell both off contract this year and kind of a bit inconsistent. It replaces Reece Martin's influence in the direct first team. Okay, it's not a long-term option. But
yeah, I mean, I don't know if Watkins would be one of the ones who the movie's been kind of a staple in that team, hasn't he? Has been captaining as well. So
yeah, but he's probably also on decent money.
He'll be probably top earner.
So if you're talking that they need to sell players, I mean, in terms of what helps Salford, it's probably going to be him, Laffey.
Laffey will be a big earner, yeah.
Sneed.
Sneed, mate. What?
And Watkins.
I tell you what, fucking Warrington. If Warrington signed Sneed, they win grand final. They need fucking sign.
Well, Warrington reportedly have cap space.
Yeah, they could lob Sneed on that. They literally. I know they've given Hayes the 7. Have they given Hayes 6 or 7 and move? Well, Hayes is down to be the starting half. I know.
Oh yeah, but I'm sorry, if Sneed becomes available, even if it's just a 2-year deal, you take that in a heartbeat. I mean, Williams and Sneed as your halfback pairing, that it doesn't have the X factor and the glamour of what Bevan French does, but over the full season, it sure as hell is the closest thing you're going to get to matching it.
Yeah, it'll be the closest thing to French and Smith, to be fair.
Because you've probably got Williams, who, as we saw for England, can do the flair stuff, just not as well as French. But then if you're doing purely organisational stuff, Sneed is better than Smith at that.
I think you've probably got, and I'm not. This is Mikey Lewis fans are going to come at me here, but you've probably got there within them 4 players the 2 best 7s in terms of out and out 7s and the 2 best.
Well, let's not even bother offending KR. Let's just say as a halfback pairing, those are easily the top 2 because Tyrone May lets that KR one down that's been in the conversation.
Yeah, no, that is true. Yeah.
If you add Brodie Croft and Mikey Lewis, then we've probably got a third one to add into the mix, albeit that lacks organisation, like I don't know what. Because that's just 2 balmy running halfbacks and nobody to steady the ship.
Where's the fuck's the Brodie Croft money gone? At Salford? Because didn't they sign him to have a
6-year contract? Because don't forget, we've signed both of them for a reported 300 grand. So where's that being pissed away to?
Yeah, there you go.
Chris Hill. That's where it's gone.
Well, that's what I mean. That's bad. And they'd signed Croft on a long deal. So they obviously had money that they was planning on spending on him. Because that will have been like an incremental.
Yeah, but I don't think Salford ever intended on seeing that deal out. That was so he couldn't just walk out at the end of it. That was a protective measure on contracts, I think.
Maybe not, but where would they be if they didn't get that 300k from you or what?
Well, quite. Problem is, we've got first dibs on the players still.
Yeah, but I mean, it'll be interesting to see if there's any fees involved because, like, if you negotiate and you're like, well, no, you need to get rid of these players off your.
Well, there'll be fees involved because it's probably going to be competitive, so they'll have to outbid each other. But it's probably not going to be reflective of players' market value.
No, I mean,
it's like the equivalent of picking up Salah for like 20 million.
Yeah, I think the problem with Salford is like, they're always punching above the weight. So their team last year, on paper, it should not have finished where it did. So they don't have superstars who you can offload a couple of them and you're like, bang, big money. Or maybe
well, I'm just looking at their 24 squad, and I mean, we'll quickly run down it here in terms of who is big club target versus who probably isn't going to attract mega money interest. I mean, starting Ryan Briley, I don't think you're going to get much outside of the lower half of Super League. I think he'd stay in the league if Salford do have to get rid, but you're not getting one of your big clubs paying big money for him.
Return to Lee makes so much sense. Moylan's retired, return to Lee. That makes sense. Come on.
Yeah, I think that's.
I'd like to see that happen.
I also kind of would think it's the sort of thing that could scream Huddersfield or Cass.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, but that's just
Huddersfield replacing Connor as your utility back option and put Lollahea into the halves. Sounds like something they'd do.
I mean, Huddersfield did release their squad numbers, and Lollahea was six with Clune 7. I can't remember who were number 1 now.
McGowan then.
It won't McGowan, no, but I'm going to Google it now.
Well, I'll let you look at that.
And we'll probably get shit off people as well. So
next up, Ethan Ryan. Can't see anyone putting money in for him particularly. If he was on a free, he'd get a contract in Super League. But I don't think they'll be able to sell him for money that's going to help him.
Is this next year's squad or this?
I've only been able to so far get the 24 one up, so I'm going to omit players who I know have already gone.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Oh, Jacob Gagai, aren't they?
Oh, of course. For some reason, I'm thinking he were out on wing.
No.
Okay, well, yeah, they don't need him then. Yeah, Lee maybe is probably the shout there. A man who doesn't need an excuse to abandon ship, Nene McDonald.
Yeah.
This is the perfect chance to go back to see his family and not return for the new season.
I tell you what, he's one of the easiest ones for them to market because he's a 2024 Dream Team member.
Yeah.
Like, someone should come in for him again.
This almost feels like you could con an NRL club who don't realise how badly they need money to actually pay something for him.
It's one of them where they need the PNG team in NRL to be a thing early. Because obviously he'd just go home then, wouldn't he? Like, go back playing PNG.
Well, he goes home even when he's under contract, so...
Oh, yeah. Oh, dear.
Yeah, that one would work. Laffey, 100%. If you sat in that situation, you've got to ship him on. He's too good to not. And he'll be on too much money. And he would be snapped up in a heartbeat.
Yeah, oh no, definitely.
This is where the vultures of Hull FC come round to see who's available.
Well, I mean, I'm just looking. I found like an article here about about the recruitment. Obviously, like the signed SM Masters and stuff. And obviously.
Oh God, I'd forgotten they'd got Masters. Yeah.
Like, why have they signed him? Obviously, Chris Hurl, Bullock, and Sangare. Don't get me wrong, are not big. Sam Davies.
I'm glad you found that. I was trying to find the full list of transfers and I could not.
You know, but then they got rid of Burrow. I mean, Burrow
and
Cust as well.
Where's Cust gone?
Hull FC.
I must have missed that one.
You missed that one, yeah. I feel like I'd seen that, but
I didn't.
I don't know if I'd seen like the rumour or something.
Good signing. Hull making some good moves this year. I certainly think they are going to do better.
Oh yeah, I definitely don't see him finishing at the bottom of the table.
I mean, we're starting to get into some of the dregs, so I kind of just cut through some of the rubbish. Dion Cross would be a sensible pickup for anyone in Super League looking for a top winger.
But are any teams looking for a top winger?
Well, I'll tell you where he could go into. And because he's the most vilified man in all of Super League and his competition has had about 4 leg breaks in 3 seasons, St. Helens.
Yeah, maybe Saint, but I just can't see Saints splashing on him.
Because Bennison is the man that St. Helens fans love to hate.
Yeah.
He's like the Antichrist of Merseyside with the way they carry on. Throw in Lewis Murphy, who's not really played down under, and I don't think has had 2 functioning legs for more than 5 minutes in the last 4 years.
And they've still got Ritson as well, haven't they?
Yeah, but he's not the answer. We've learned that.
No, I'm not. I know.
2
We're just
years.
saying that might, is the swap deal on cards.
Well, that wouldn't be the worst move, actually. And maybe that is kind of where Salford need to go almost. Sell someone and get a loan back of a lesser player.
Yeah.
And Ritson would be cheap. I mean, this would epitomise Salford's fall from grace, I hate to say, because no disrespect to T. Ritson, but he's not at Dion Cross's level.
He's a upper championship quality winger.
Which is probably where Salford might end up being at this rate.
Yeah, it might be a smart.
But I'm sorry, Singo's not going to get a big move. Vuniaya was not.
This is the thing.
Stone might.
Yes, Stone, but Stone's a quarter player. I'm not honestly with the quarters. It's like they've backed themselves into a corner. They've got Laffey, Masters, and McDonald. Like who has? I know they're all three. I know McDonald will play on wing, but they've got 3 out-and-out centres who are all quarters players. That's just bad. That is bad recruitment, isn't it? That come on, like.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Like you say, they've got what 5? Yeah, is the 5 or the 6?
What quarter?
They've still got Shane Wright.
They will have, yeah. I hadn't seen saying they're not.
Right, so I think they've got.
Why were the 6? Talk me through them.
So in terms of quarter players, they've got McDonald, Laffey, Masters, Vuniaya, Stone, and Wright.
What about Nicarima?
I've forgotten they've got him.
Yeah.
Is he going to stay though? Because he's another prime one that you could very easily shift.
But who's looking for an halfback, really? Like, at this stage, every team's got these positions up down.
You sign any bloody sod that you don't need. Look at Waka bloody Blake.
Oh, yeah, but that'd be good. Yeah, but we're not going to pay out fucking contracts, mate. We're not that.
No, but they might not. At this rate, they're not going to get a choice on fees. After some of these, they're just going to have to accept the taking less cap and release them.
Yeah, but
because if the alternative is go under, everyone's contract is going to be voided anyway, and they're going to have to release all of them.
Which that'd be crazy, to be fair. But.
So to reduce that big debtor on the balance sheet, they might have to release a couple.
Maybe so, yeah.
But no, I mean, I'm sure there are clubs out there that could easily take Nicarima on and get the slot straight in the team. I mean, he'd walk into Wakefield's team.
Do you think?
Yeah. Who are you starting over him at Wakefield?
Well, I assume they're going to go Truman and Russell, but obviously they have still got Lino as well.
Yeah, which I guess the only problem is then, do you want 2 quarter halfbacks? Probably not if one of them is not starting.
Yeah, I don't know.
2 quarter halfbacks is fine if they're both your starting halfbacks.
Have they even got quarter space?
I'll be honest, I don't even know. I'm suggesting names where he could fit it. I've not got every single team's squad up in front of me.
Let me think of quarter players for Wake. Wake, you've got a load of quarter props. So they've got Rodwell, Atone, Uele, and Vanganar. Right, that's 4. Then they've got Lino. That's 5. Yeah. And they've signed that other young lad, and I can't remember his name now. I think they've signed 1 or 2, haven't they? Overseas lads.
But then I guess it's the case of, do all of those end up staying?
No, yeah, but I'm just saying I can't see him.
Because if you do, I
can't see teams getting quarter players in, like the quarter players.
What we're talking about, we say this has got we'll take Nicarima, you can have Lino as a goodwill gesture written all over it.
Maybe, yeah, but let's obviously, I'm really interested now about it. How are they still playing fucking Liam Udder in this year? Right. Oh, they got Seth Nicotimo, back rower.
Oh, I wouldn't have remembered him.
So maybe they do have 1 or 2 knocking about still. But I think if they need anything, it might be another hooker, to be honest.
This is a genuine question because I don't actually know where he's under contract, if anywhere. Where the bloody hell's Icafifo these days? Is he still at Salford?
Yeah, because he were rumoured to be signing for Bradford, wasn't he? And that never happened. Oh no, he signed for. Who did he? I'm googling this now, mate. Now, see,
He
this
spent
is
about
when we're just
15
going on
years being contracted to one of either them or Huddersfield and on loan at the other one, just following Watson around like a lost sheep.
Oh no, for Huddersfield.
Is he actually their player?
Apparently, he's never left Huddersfield since 2016. He was just on loan at Salford for like 2 seasons.
I was going to say, if I knew he were contracted to one and loaned out to the other one every year, but I could not remember what it was because Watson just worshipped him.
Oh no,
That's
I think
the only reason he went to Huddersfield, isn't it?
I've just seen this. They've wished Seb and his family goodbye, so I'm assuming he's gone home.
Okay, well that's one player that they've not got on quota then.
Oh wait, attracting interest from Halifax, but I don't know, to be honest.
Not Salford anyway, so it's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we've probably covered this to death now, and like I say, I think we've covered the 3 clubs that are in hot pursuit to take over that spot. So I guess you'll see where we rank Salford in all this mess in our season prediction video, probably coming out around mid-January, I would assume.
Yeah, depending on when fixtures have already been announced from the start, but we haven't yet got a full picture of different round. You know, when is everything happening with the different cups and championship start and everything? Which, to be fair, when this goes out, the championship fixtures will.
We don't need the championship start for a Super League prediction video.
No, I know we don't.
But we need the full squads, which is obviously still very much in motion.
It'll be January anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
Probably week before season, we usually do the actual.
Stay subscribed because that will be coming up in the future, and we've got a hell of a lot planned before then that you probably don't want to miss. Hopefully, do.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's Rugby League this week, really.
No, yeah. Thanks for
our clothing line. Na. Salford going bust.
Yeah.
On that note, goodbye.
Goodbye.